Good afternoon. Officially, everyone, I'm Emily Young with NC Tech. Thank you so much for joining today's virtual workshop presented by Silvertree and Segal. We are going to get started right away here. I just wanted to make a quick note here that if you have any questions for me, technical questions, you can go ahead and send that to me directly in your chat feature, and I'll let our presenters today tell you about how they'll handle some Q&A during today's program. So without further ado, Richard, take it away.
Thank you, Emily. Welcome, everyone. We're very pleased to have you join us today. Today's session, we hope and we anticipate will be quite informative. You're going to find that this presentation is a result of decades of experience and hundreds of transformation engagements. This session is all about a foundational session for you to leverage, and I'm confident that you will walk away with a couple of tools that you can use in your digitalization journey. So without any further ado, let me make the introductions. I'm Richard Ricks, founder and CEO of Silvertree Consulting and Services. My background is I'm a local yokel to Raleigh-Durham. I grew up in North Carolina, went to school in North Carolina, and had the pleasure of being the CIO of Nortel Networks back in the early 2000, 2002 timeframe. And then I had the pleasure of taking on an assignment at CSC where Tony and I pulled together a $6.5 billion IT services company. And the reason that is material or interesting is we had 350 clients, and all of those clients at any given time were going through a transformation of some type. And so we've got a lot of experience with helping those clients be successful. With me today, Tony Doy, president of Silvertree Consulting and Services. Tony is our digital evangelist. Prior to joining Silvertree, Tony was the chief operating officer at Girl Scouts USA. The beauty of that is he was responsible for driving the operational performance of Girl Scouts and leading their digital strategy. And I know Girl Scouts has had a challenging time this past year, but let me assure you, without their digital presence, their digital application, they would have had a much more difficult time, which Tony led the creation of. Tony's background is he was, prior to the Girl Scouts assignment, he was the CEO of CompuCom, CEO of Fujitsu North America, SVP of Unisys, and a president with me at CSC. So Tony and I go way back, and I have the pleasure of having him part of our family at Silvertree. In addition, we had Fred Hinke. Fred Hinke is with Segal. Segal is a leader in HR, benefits, and transformational consulting. Fred has over 30 years in coaching executives in M&A and transformations that have enabled their alignment and their success. And Fred will be stepping us through the implications of the digital transformation to the employees, the culture, and the leadership of an organization as part of the agenda. So let's move to the next chart, please, which is the agenda. So, you know, there's a lot of discussion about digital transformation in the marketplace. So what we've done is we've synthesized that, and we're going to give you a perspective of what is digital transformation. We're also going to talk about the traditional reasons for digital transformation and what are some of the emerging reasons for that, and things that are really driving the business to make the changes they need to make using digital technology. And Tony will be talking about both of those items. Then as you think about your digital transformation journey, we're going to give you a perspective of the lenses of how to look at those initiatives such that you get the full benefit of your digital transformation journey. And then we have, through a lot of research, simplified the vocabulary and how to talk about an enterprise level transformation agenda, and what are the domains of change that you may want to consider as you move through your digitalization journey. And then applying the lenses to those domains is key because, you know, it's the combination of the lenses and the change of the domains that deliver the value. And then Fred will step you through the employees, culture, and leadership dynamics that are associated with digital transformation and the implications thereof. He'll walk you through how a broken process impacts employees and how solving a broken process and using RPA technology can create tremendous opportunity for your employees, but also will drive some challenges as it relates to culture, roles, and training. And I think that will be quite informative for you. And then we'll have a poll. You know, we always like to get insights from our clients and our participants. So we look forward to the poll, and Fred will take you through that. And then I'll wrap up the formal presentation with stepping you through our framework and our methodology that we have used many times, I would say hundreds of times, and have enhanced it, which is the Align, Assess, Design, Implement, and Manage framework, and how that enables you to have the higher probability for success with your digital transformation journey. And then one of our favorite portions is really, this gives you the opportunity to interact with us, to ask the questions, to get the insights from us, given our decades of experience and hundreds of engagements in transformation. And we look forward to that. That's our favorite part. And we'll talk about next steps and, you know, the opportunity for you to take advantage of a complimentary assessment if you so choose. So without any further ado, I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, my friend, my partner, Tony Doy, who will step you through the next portion of the agenda. Over to you, Tony.
Great, thanks very much, Richard, and good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to talk with you and share our thoughts and hopefully hear some of yours later on in the conversation. So what is digital transformation? It means so many different things to so many people, or is it so many of the same things but prioritized differently? Or has digital transformation just been here since punch cards and the IBM 360? And I know I'm showing my age, but I suspect one or two of you can remember that era as well. In our vernacular, we view digital transformation in a holistic way and very much top down. I wonder, what's your success or perception of the success of digital transformation, how it's been for you? Did you know that 99.999% of aircraft takeoffs and landings are successful compared with only 30% of digital transformation? Is that a surprise to you? It's quite a stat. We think of digital transformation as a combination of rethinking old models, bringing in design thinking and ideation while being fast and nimble, being okay with failure, fail fast, as it's sometimes called, so being agile, bringing in those agile conversations, into those conversations, innovation, new technologies and business processes that bring agility into the life of new delivery models. And of course, integrating horizontally across business units, partners and staff, but also vertically from legacy systems through to high-touch customer experiences. And lastly, being prepared to shed some of that legacy and those outdated technologies that have become part of the furniture and very hard to move. But as we will discuss, people hold the key. Leadership, skills, communication, collaboration, empowerment, and of course, culture. Digital transformation can only be successful by spiking those analog neurons of the human brain. So let's look at next to the drivers of digital transformation. Traditionally, companies digitalize because of competition, growth, decline, or new behaviors. Behaviors that have been driven, for example, by COVID. They're one-offs. These are typically traditional reasons for transformation, reasons that the C-suite might direct to you or to your colleagues. But there are other emerging issues and challenges in serving customers and staff better today. Firstly, security. Threats are increasing. Ransomware is top of the charts right now. But work anywhere, anytime, work from home brings challenges. BYOD was the forerunner to that, but it's got more complex. And then there's external data being ingested. Security threats continue to expand. I suspect business intelligence, decision support, and analytics are also a priority. Do you have the data structure, the governance, the skills, the platform to provide those clear insights you need? One source of the truth. And is your user and customer experience seamless? Do you have a 360 view? Do you provide omni-channel capability? I suspect some challenges with siloed systems and siloed data may prevail. And now your workforce, they expect flexibility, new policies, dress code, Zoom-free Fridays, 2 days in the offices, security again. And we've recently seen Facebook offer work from home to all staff. We've seen Google and Apple go in the opposite direction and even lawsuits. Big decisions as skills are in demand and employees may have new choices that they hadn't had in the past. And throughout these last 18 months, has IT been firefighting? Have some things moved to the back burner? Is IT still the trusted advisor? Or are you the relegated service provider? You want that seat at the table. Does IT need to raise its profile and its leadership right across the organization? So, given these dynamics, and of course there are many more, are you well positioned to execute on your digital transformation strategy? Are your peers on board? Is your strategy defined? Hopefully we can help you advance your digital transformation. So how do we look at digital transformation? Richard mentioned the lenses. Essentially, these are the three lenses, a kaleidoscope, if you will. Digital transformation is being led predominantly by what customers need. But there are many customers, different generations, race, demographics, financial income, spending habits. There are many personas, and they can't all be treated the same. How you communicate and what you communicate and how often you communicate are vitally important to each persona. We need a deep and critical understanding of each persona. This lens has to look deeply at the wants and needs of each. This lens overlaps considerably with tech and how we serve and deliver. Similarly, it overlaps with culture and leadership. In turn, strategic leadership that will analyze and look deeply into needs while considering the bigger picture and company direction, and of course, benefit from deep analytics and business intelligence. Further, your org structure, the way your people work, and yes, your culture again, are all critical in determining your effectiveness in reaching your customers. Alignment across business units, strategic goals, financial investments, governance, and KPIs are all foundational to a successful transformation. So back to technology. Many choices, too many choices. How do you optimize and rationalize your choices in serving your customers and employees? What flexibility or security do you offer? How many mediums? How do you transform from legacy applications, data islands, proliferation of devices, and security gaps? So I've talked to customer, employees, and technology, and hopefully the graphic shows how they're inextricably linked. And I've highlighted the need for aligned leadership across all three. And at the heart, though, is design thinking, which can lead your journey and the conversation around opportunities and possibilities, underpinned with clarity of thought and a roadmap to get you there. Solid research, knowing, listening to your customers, journey mapping, etc. But of course, even design thinking is a process and a discipline, one that the organization benefits from by holistically embracing it. So that's the lenses by which we view, but what are the domains of digitalization? I'm sure you've seen a number of charts. There are many ways to slice and dice digital transformation, and we do it this way. We segment it into 4 categories: customer experience, products and services, employee and partner experience, and business process and systems. These, of course, and I want to stress, they all interlap and intersect in multiple ways. So a quick look at 1 or 2, for example, under business process and systems, let's look at data strategy. Many clients have data distributed all over the enterprise, poorly shared, if shared at all, very little leverage, running the risk of data being shared inappropriately. Add to that the plethora of external data, unstructured data, voice and video, the opportunities abound. Data leadership includes business data stewardship, solution architects, extract, transfer load team, data governance team that enable consumption and delivery team to provide those analytics and business intelligence. But it's very difficult to stand back, take a time out, assess yourself. We look through the lenses of leadership needs, customer needs, and capabilities, technical capabilities, to align, assess, design, and implement. Another example, interconnected products. Companies like Amazon and Nike have mastered the interconnected strategy. They look to all the ways their products connect with you and move you seamlessly through their digital products and their physical world. It's all about the experience, an innovative experience, and the data. Well, the data insights and the layers of machine learning, AI. Design thinking is in their DNA, it's in their culture. So in both examples, each quadrant relies on others, but I hope this categorization helps focus. So this next chart brings domains and the focal lens together. So very simply put, our secret sauce is in using these lenses of change, overlaying them onto the domains of digital transformation. Hopefully, we provided a vocabulary for you to use with your teams and your colleagues. But to reiterate, no two situations are the same, but they do all need to be aligned, assessed, designed, and implemented, and of course, operated. You'll hear more later as to how we may be able to help you successfully execute on your strategy. With that.
So I'd like to hand it over to Fred Hinkie, who will take you through the employees, culture, and leadership. I would hope that the lenses and the domains have created a foundational element and a vocabulary that you can leverage, and we'll take it to the next level in this section of discussion and at the end. So over to Fred.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me okay.
We can hear you.
Oh, excellent. All right. So building on something that Tony said, having a digital first mindset requires leaders to recognize that the consumer is in the driver's seat. It also means that organizations must commit to continually transform, adapt, and innovate. As part of the employee culture and leadership lens, the traditional human resources function also needs to transform to human resourcefulness to directly enable, equip, and empower the workforce across the 4 domains Tony highlighted. To emphasize these points, I'm going to briefly share a case study. So a few years ago, back when I was a software engineer, I was part of a large project team in a manufacturing company, formed to fundamentally change how we served our customers through the use of leading technologies, operating practices, and overall business governance. We were not able to effectively quote delivery dates. We were plus minus 30 days and needed to really be more like plus minus 3 days on our promise dates. Our first time quality was less than 95%, while the industry was moving north of 98%. Our in-process inventory was larger than 20 million, and we needed to be much less, closer to 3 million. We defaulted to make to inventory when our highly manual scheduling system fell behind, adding to our inventory challenges. Our leadership team fully embraced the changes we needed to make in order to address these 4 outcomes and help to align the organization and the project team to make it happen. We started by mapping the customer journey from end to end while documenting our current processes and critical data elements, both the inputs and the outputs. The key processes included customer order entry, scheduling, materials and supplier management, manufacturing flow, quality assurance, inventory management, and delivery. Through this initial stage, we discovered we had way too many handoffs in the process. At the moment of need, critical data elements were often not available or incomplete. Decisions were not being made about customer orders with very little visibility, decisions were made about customer orders with very little visibility to other orders that were in the queue and our manufacturing capacity. So long story short, we eventually addressed these challenges by forming cross-functional teams, which included operations, IT, and HR, to address each area and integrate our work at a project management office level with a very active steering committee. They kept us focused on the outcomes that I talked about earlier that we were aiming for, kept the leadership team aligned, and helped us resolve issues quickly, which was very, very important. In the end, we launched the very first process manufacturing scheduling system of its kind, utilizing object-oriented programming, continuous flow manufacturing methods, analytics for decision support, and AI for determining the optimal customer order mix on the front end. Our HR organization helped us from the beginning and throughout. They helped us identify the internal resources needed to build the digital team and backfill those resources being pulled into full-time project roles. They helped us to address culture by identifying the new behaviors, attitudes, and values we needed to demonstrate, especially being hyper customer focused, agile, and collaborative. They also helped us break down silos and across the organization. Many of our operations employees needed to be reskilled to fully leverage the investments we were making. HR developed the training programs and the job aids for each function and each job site. And finally, HR managed the relationship with third-party professional services companies where we needed to augment the team with skills that were not available internally. So I'm going to wrap up this case study with a key lesson learned. Do not try to apply new technology to a broken process before fixing the broken process. We had initially overlooked a process on the front end. We used customer promise dates to pull customer orders through the manufacturing process, as we had always done. This produced a suboptimal schedule almost every time. We had to retrofit the way in which we placed customer orders into the manufacturing process to create a continuous flow and optimize the schedule. A broken process will always defeat technology and people, no matter how good they are. So building on the previous slide, when migrating to a more digital way of operating, broken processes often do get in the way. Before applying new technology to make things digital, it's important to do some analysis on the current state and be mindful of these symptoms that are highlighted on this slide. They can result in over-communicating, which by itself is very time-consuming, constant firefighting mode, lots of overtime and rework, staff frustration, burnout, and even turnover, certainly dissatisfied customers, and ultimately broken processes. So again, we can't say this enough, moving a broken process to a new digital solution will not fix these problems. In fact, it may even make them worse. The knowledge gathered from process analysis and redesign provides a very, very valuable inputs to conversations with stakeholders, helps in gaining their buy-in, especially as it relates to the business case, as Tony talked about earlier, and baselines for operating metrics. So you're going to know if you're moving the meter later by having that baseline.
So, Fred, I've seen this many times, but specifically just recently with a telecom or network equipment manufacturer, about $1 billion business. We were brought in to do an assessment of their, you might say, the customer interface to address their onboarding of their distributors. And, we said, well, we think we would better serve to assess the process. The thought was that it was the way they were navigating their systems that was creating the dropout of their distributors. Basically, their revenue was associated with 80% distributors, and they were having close to 80% fallout of the onboarding of new distributors. So obviously, this was a big problem for the business and a big revenue impact to the business. What we found is that without doing a whole lot with the user interface, but by fixing the process and the broken steps and introducing RPA technology and addressing the client user interface, we could get them from 80% dropout to 24%, which was where we felt, based upon industry standards, was an acceptable performance. But, it started with a discussion about we want to paint the pig. We want to change the way the clients interface with the business through, a new client interface. It evolved once we were able to demonstrate the broken process to a much more significant transformation that resulted in a greater outcome. And thank goodness the client was willing to allow us to do that. And as a result, they benefit from that outcome. So, usually the challenge in business transformation is not the technology, it's the process that the technology is interfacing with or being consumed by. So it was a good outcome, and we're very thankful for that client's success. But it started, as I said, with the painting the pig was the thought, and changed into a more significant engagement. Back to you, Fred.
Thank you, Richard. So robotic process automation, it's been around a while. It's not new. And as Richard mentioned, play a key role as part of the digital footprint. It's been around for decades. You probably have deployed several bots already. We use early forms of RPA on the project I highlighted earlier. These three cute bots on the slide represent the three types of process robots. So probots they're taught to mimic human interactions, performing work steps on systems and tools triggered by specific dates or time of day, or completion of a previous step, or in some cases manually started. No bots are taught to search and gather information. And then finally, chatbots are taught to function as virtual agents designed to be the starting point for some customer inquiries. Those that tend to be more straightforward. Note the key word used in all three of these: taught by the subject matter experts and by process experts. If you've not already jumped into the deep end of RPA, I recommend you consider walking before you run. That is, pilot their use and get good at using them before use them in a widespread way. They can have a positive impact on cost for sure, quality and scalability, but only if they are focused properly, operate error-free, and don't produce a large number of exceptions, which I'll be talking about shortly, to be handled manually. Finally, I found that the term robot strikes fear into the hearts of many people in the operating and functional areas of the business. They fear being replaced by robots. Leaders in HR play a key role in easing these concerns by consistently communicating that RPA, AI, and machine learning are designed to replace high volume and repetitive tasks and provide real-time actionable insights, while freeing up people to focus on higher value-added functions or tasks like interpretation, trend analysis, and most importantly, getting out ahead of the customer. In a sense, roles get repurposed and are equipped with the tools and training, enabled with data and insights, and empowered to drive the pace of change and deliver exceptional customer experiences. Next slide. So these are the 5 basic criteria to determine if RPA is a good fit to more fully automate process steps. So starting with workflow, the steps can be sequenced and are performed in the same way each time with minimal human decision-making required. That's a foundational piece. The inputs, focusing on inputs for a moment, required data is always available consistently when needed and with minimal problems like missing data. On the output side, downstream steps can be automatically triggered when these automated steps complete, so they are not adding artificial delays and lag time to the process. As for exceptions, there's a low probability of any exception to how these automated steps will be performed. If there are a lot of exceptions, we know there's going to be manual intervention. And then finally, the volume and resource consumption. There's high enough volume to make the investment in the automation worthwhile. So finally, capturing and codifying high volume routine process steps is also important if the staff member who knows how the process works is being promoted or is planning to retire soon. You have high turnover for the roles performing these steps, and training new hires is very time consuming. Okay, so we're to Richard's favorite part. At this stage, we're going to ask you to respond to a poll. And you'll notice that there are 7 questions. We'd like to see where you are in aspects of your digital journey, along with the challenges you're facing. So since there are 7 questions, you're probably going to have to scroll down on your device to see all of them. Please select between 1 and 5 as your response to each, with 1 being in the planning stage and 5 being 100% developed and working well in our organization. So we'll give that some time. So some of the questions, I'll start with number 1. Do you have a clear business strategic plan? On a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate yourself? Number 4, given COVID challenges, do you have a clear strategies, plans, and policies for your workforce? Again, on a scale of 1 to 5. Give that a little bit more time. Number 7, one of my favorite, do you have the culture, leadership, and staff to achieve strategic goals?
I think number 5 is intriguing, Fred, because we're seeing a lot of demand in the BI and analytics space as businesses come out of the COVID constraints and want to renew how they engage with their clients, their employees, and the partners, and understand what may be the levers they could use to drive the greatest outcome. We're seeing a lot of interest in that recently, more so than we did in the past year.
Yeah, especially with the amount of data that we're receiving on a daily basis, increasing almost exponentially.
And, with number 5, I think everyone knows that if you really are thinking about using artificial intelligence or machine learning, having a good data infrastructure and analytic infrastructure is fundamental to that.
So how are we doing on the poll responses? Are they beginning to slow down? Would it make sense to share those now? Shazam, there we go. Okay, so looking at the first question, business strategy. So about the middle of the road, not surprising there. Looking at number 2, 360 view of your customer. Yep. Again, kind of middle of the road, which is good. It means you started, but you're not maybe feeling like you're all the way there yet.
That's actually a very good result. At 60% of the poll takers feel like they have a 360 degree view of the customers, employees, and partners. That's a great result.
And we have the executable roadmap on number 3, again at 60%. No 1s or 2s there, which is good.
Yeah, and I think what we're going to talk about after the poll will help with that executable roadmap. So we'll look forward to getting the feedback on that.
And then the COVID challenges on number 4. It's a big number on number 4. So that's great. I think COVID really accelerated many digital journeys, no doubt. As we move to number 5, your favorite, Richard, business intelligence and data analytics, big number on number 5. That's great.
Good to see, actually. Those that are at level 5, that's great. You've obviously made the decisions you needed to make to build the foundation to enable that.
Again, I think this past 16 months have really accelerated our use of data across many industries. Number 6, security posture. Yep. It's good to see 60% at level 4 there.
Right.
And again, so much has been happening in the last few months with ransomware, et cetera. It's really made it much more visible. And as we move to number 7, culture, leadership, and staff, 60% at number 3, level 3. That's great. And 100% at level 3 or above. Awesome.
Yeah, it's great. We have some high performing participants in our session today, which is great. So hopefully this insight was useful for all of you. It certainly was for us, and it also says that a lot of you made progress in your digital transformation journey, which is also awesome, and I'm sure your business is thriving as a result of that. Let's hope so. What I'd like to do is, if you're all right, is move to the next portion of the agenda, because we'll pick up these results as part of the Q&A as well. So
Absolutely.
Thanks, Fred, for the overview and the facilitation of the Q&A. So when we look at putting in place with our clients a framework that we know has a high probability of success, we've developed the framework we're going to step you through. It starts with alignment. We find that many organizations think they have alignment and really don't. And this is alignment of IT, business, clients, customers, and employees. And also, as Fred has articulated, it's not just the business leadership, but it's the HR component that is fundamental to the transformation success and all the cultural implications associated with that. Just a little story. we were chugging along on a great engagement with a client, and we started with the assessment component versus the alignment. We asked the client, do you have everybody on board with what you're trying to do? It was a CIO of a sizable nonprofit, and she said yes. And what we found when we got through it is that the things that she controlled, she had complete alignment, but the things outside her control, which were significant to the transformation event, she really didn't. So when we went to when we got to the end of the engagement and we were making recommendations that were going to drive significant business improvement, we found we had to go back and get the business on board from an alignment perspective to enable the full benefit of that engagement and that transformational event. And the difficulty with that is we were in go mode, and we more or less lost another month of getting everybody involved that needed to be involved in the alignment. And so, test the alignment, make sure you have the alignment, and make sure you have the sponsorship of the executives of the organization, and you put in place a governance process to maintain the alignment. We've also found that many organizations start in their transformational journey without really understanding where they are. Fred had talked about broken processes. I spoke to a case study about that, where the initial thought was we're just going to go in and we're going to improve the customer experience. Well, really, to improve the customer experience, we all know it's more than just a digital interface that's changed. Because the customer feels all of the disconnects in a business process or an IT operation. And so we would encourage you, before you start to design your program, after you've got alignment on the goals and vision, to make sure that you do an assessment and you understand the foundation or the lack thereof that you're building upon. And you not only assess the technology in the business process, but you address and understand where your people and culture and leadership readiness is, because that will gate the pace of change that you can implement. Next chart, please. Design. We spent a lot of time in the design space, but really the first two elements of align and assess are fundamental to the design, because the alignment and the assessment informs the design. Because without alignment and a clear set of goals and objectives, you don't have the basis of the design. And without understanding the elements of change that need to be addressed to be successful through your assessment, you really can't do a proper design. So, we like to inform our designs based upon the strategic goals and the alignment stated in the first component, and the assessment. And if you really want to transform yourself, you need to step back and use design thinking and ideation to reimagine the experience you want to create. Many organizations start a transformation objective and they haven't really taken the time to step back and reimagine that experience, which could candidly create tremendous differentiation. But also we find that whether you do that or not, there's tremendous value in moving the ball down the field, if you will, in your transformation engagement by working on continuous improvement. And we would encourage you not to only put together a design program and a program plan, but make sure you have as part of that, you have an economic game plan that really is as equivalent to the program plan, that's managing the outcome, the business outcome that you're looking for, and obviously the risk and the cultural change components that need to be addressed. We're confident that if you inform your design on the assessment and the alignment, and you put the various elements of the economic game plan and risk management plan, leveraging design thinking, you have a high probability for success. And obviously use agile methodology as part of that, and think about how you would leverage agile methodology so you fail fast or create value quickly that you can build upon. Next chart, please. Implementation, I would say the biggest takeaway from implementation is put in place a governance methodology, and we have a proven one that brings everyone together and maintains that alignment and maintains the review of where you are against the program, economic game plan, and the associated risk. Implementation is just the start of, you might say, what the customer will see as it relates to the experience you're trying to create. So a successful implementation with a client will be key to the growth of your relationship, and it's worth the investment you make in putting in place the governance model and bringing clients into it. I would encourage you to bring in clients and employees into your transformation journey and be part of the feedback loop in your governance process. Obviously, having the detailed plans in place and understanding how you're going to manage the execution is key. And we find the greatest success is when a client uses a agile execution methodology. So as I stated earlier, you fail fast or you succeed fast, and you take the learning, you incorporate it, and you keep moving forward, which is key to our collective success. And then the final component, whether you implement AI technology, cloud technology, RPA technology, or a new user interface, things are changing daily in your business, and you know that in the marketplace. So make sure you have the management processes in place to incorporate change, whether it's innovation or a change that's driven by the business process or how, the client dynamics change. Because, an RPA bot can go stale. We find that in the market quite often, in that an RPA bot was coded for a particular transaction, and then the process changes and the data feeds that were associated with that, or whatever was part of that executable, has been changed, and the results suffer. So make sure you have that change management process in place, and that continuous improvement and innovation process, and drive to continuously look for how you improve the customer experience. So we are confident that if you truly embrace these 5 elements of managing the transformational event and do it in the proper way, your probability of success, as Tony talked about, 30% probability or 30% performance versus 99.99 for a flight, you will increase it dramatically. And we've proven it. And from a Silvertree perspective, when we've been able to leverage this methodology, we're prepared to guarantee an outcome if we have the proper alignment with the client. So with that, I think we're done with the formal presentation. Next chart, we're going to go into the Q&A. And as I said earlier, I think we all enjoy the interaction as much as more than the presentation. So we look forward to your questions and hopefully the informed answers that we will provide. So please load us up with some questions. We look forward to this next section. So I think we have a question or two already, which is great. I've got a question that, we've got a couple of questions here. One is, what is involved in a complementary assessment? Well, a complementary assessment would start with a phone call with the sponsor, executive sponsor, and we would agree upon what is the scope that would be involved and what would be the outcome. And candidly, we have found that a complementary assessment results in usually enough information that a sponsor can take forward to their organization and get buy-in, or start to get buy-in. So we would encourage you to take advantage of that if you so choose.
So Richard, there are a couple of other questions out there that I'm not sure we have fully answered. So I'm a smaller mid-sized company. This all seems pretty heavyweight to me. Can we leverage these methodologies even if we're a small or mid-sized company?
Tony, would you like to take that, or
thanks, Richard. Well, I already answered it in the chat earlier while Fred was talking, and yes, it's very scalable for sure. In fact, we find that many mid-sized companies actually are more in need of a holistic approach rather than a specific area. It's very tough these days to be up to speed with all the different disciplines and capabilities in a smaller organization. So therefore, we believe this can assist just as well in the mid-market as it can above or in larger mid-market organizations.
Yeah, I would say all organizations have customers, I hope, and have processes and people. And so this methodology and framework is very scalable. So thank you, Tony. Other questions?
Yeah, so the one that's also been answered live is, based on your experience, what is the most critical role on a digital transformation team?
Yeah, similarly, I typed the answer back there. Well, clearly someone who's got the credibility, the capability to reach across the organization. Whether it's the CIO or a chief transformation officer or someone of that ilk, they are an ambassador, they're a leader, they're a technocrat. They lead this, but at the same time, without a CEO that's a believer, you're not going to get the full buy-in of the leadership team. So that's why they are also an ambassador, an advisor across the board. So, assuming there's good partnership and good direction from the CEO, then CIO or CTO, they would lead the charge.
Thank you, Tony. There's another one out here. What cloud technology and BI tools services do you leverage?
I'll take that one. So we leverage, and it says Azure, AWS. We leverage Azure as well as AWS and GCP because we have we don't think that all BI and analytics tools are created equal. The foundation layer may be, but the purpose that they're used for are unique to the business domain. So what we look at is what is the best solution for the client. And therefore, what we've had to do is through our ecosystem is develop expertise across multiple BI and analytic platforms to enable that because we don't want to constrain our clients. And so it's been a key area of focus for us, as I said earlier, because we've seen an explosion in interest in this space, which is quite good. Other questions?
I think that's all the questions we got right now there, Richard.
Yeah. So I guess we could consider making some closing comments and then wrapping this up and give people back a few minutes of their time. So Tony, would you like to make any closing comments, and then Fred, and then I'll close and we'll move forward.
Well, thanks, Richard. Nothing in particular, just to reiterate, having a structure and a lens that's broad and holistic, and a leader that feels confident to straddle all these disciplines is vital in transformation. And more and more we see the challenges of understanding all the complexities and the opportunities and sifting those whilst running an organization. Standing back and taking a good look is tough. And I think that's right in our wheelhouse. And if we can help, we'd be glad to help. If you need help, we have a tried and tested methodology that we're proud of. But I'd just finally like to say thank you for giving us the time and sharing it with us. And if you have further thoughts, questions, comments, please let us have them. Thank you.
Thank you. Fred, closing comments?
Yeah, thank you, Richard. Yeah, so I also want to thank everybody for being on this call and all the people that helped prepare for this. Thank you as well. The comment I made earlier about fear of being replaced by robots or new technology, that's very real. And HR really does need to be part of the digital team to get out ahead of that in terms of change management and communications and, redefining roles, redefining job descriptions, redefining how performance is going to be measured, in the new day. And just wanted to reiterate that point.
Thanks, Fred. I just close that hopefully I would think, and hopefully we have given you a few tools to use, whether it's the lenses or the domains or the framework for managing and executing transformation. We wanted to give you today a foundation that you could leverage across any size of enterprise, a foundation that we use. In subsequent sessions, we would love to get your input on what workshops. We're happy to take a much deeper dive than this foundational level into various aspects of digital transformation. We enjoy the technology, but today was all about the foundational aspects of enabling you to be successful. So as Tony and Fred indicated, I want to thank all of you that participated today. I hope that it was as informative as we hoped it was when we set it out. And we look forward to supporting you in any way we can. I would encourage you to consider the complimentary assessment. We guarantee you it will be quite informative and of value to you. So look forward to the next time we meet. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of the day. So thank you, everyone, for your participation today. All the very best. Bye.
Thanks, Joe, so much. We'll get that recording to you shortly here, and keep an eye out on the calendar at nctech.org/events for more great offerings from our members like Silvertree. And thank you to Segal and Silvertree for today's presentation. Y'all take care.